So let's begin with a thought experiment. Imagine that you have never murdered anyone. You've never poisoned anyone's coffee. You've never shoved anyone over the balcony of a cruise ship. You've never murdered another human being. And the point Jesus is getting at in all of this is that contempt is a killer. That's the issue. Murder is a killer. Anger is a killer. Contempt is a killer. When they heard the Sermon on the Mount, when they heard Jesus talk about anger, when they heard him talk about calling someone a fool or a dummy, he said, you will be in danger of the fires of Gehenna. What they associated with that is, whatever we have done will come back to consume us alive. And that's the point that Jesus is getting at when he addresses anger. They thought they had all been good. They thought they had all kept the command because they had not murdered another human being. Jesus said, you're missing the point. There's something that begins in the heart. And if you let it burn, it will consume you. And that's our first point today. Anger is a fire that will eventually consume you from within. That's what they heard when he associated anger with the valley of Ben Hinnom. Now, Jesus said all of this 2,000 years ago. Here's what's fascinating, and it shouldn't surprise us. His insight and wisdom is actually being affirmed by our latest scientific and psychological research into understanding human anger and what it does to us as individuals, how it becomes a fire that consumes from within. So, since at this point in the sermon, I knew everyone would need a break because that is some very heavy history, we decided to reach all the way back into the Hope Church film archive so that we can learn a little bit of something about anger and what it does to us psychologically speaking. So, let's take a look.
I'm Pastor Professor. Welcome to another edition of The Wonders of Psychological Science. Today, we're talking about the emotion of anger. Anger is one seductive emotion. Psychologists tell us that it even has addictive qualities. Here's how it works. When anger is triggered in the human body, the adrenal glands release adrenaline, cortisol, and norepinephrine into your bloodstream. Adrenaline is the hormone that increases your heart rate, blood pressure, and narrows your field of vision. Now your body is ready for action. Cortisol is the hormone that increases your blood pressure and restricts blood flow to parts of your body that aren't necessary for immediate survival, such as your digestive tract or your reproductive system. Norepinephrine is a hormone that temporarily numbs feelings of pain. Now your body is in fight or flight mode, which is helpful when you need to escape from an attacking bear or fight off a Martian invasion.
Solo un superhombre puede contener esta invasión. Santo, el enmascarado de plata contra la invasión de los marcianos. Usted que es afecto a las películas fantásticas.
The addictive quality of anger comes from norepinephrine. Since it effectively numbs pain for a short amount of time, it makes it easy for some people to go to anger for short-term pain relief. For many people, this can often mask deeper-seated untreated emotional challenges, such as feeling inadequate, unappreciated, powerless, or even shameful. Since norepinephrine can help mask those feelings, many people will go back to anger again and again, even to the point of addiction. But this anger comes at a high personal cost. Too much cortisol in your system can compromise the health and integrity of your cardiovascular system, your digestive system, your immune system, and your relationship system, because nobody likes a jerk. Furthermore, too much cortisol in the system will lower the amount of serotonin in the brain. Serotonin is the chemical that helps us to feel happy. With lower serotonin, we often feel worse, leading to greater desires and cravings for more norepinephrine in the system to temporarily numb that pain. So, while anger might make one feel powerful and pain-free in the short term, in the long term, it creates health complications and addictive behaviors. And we know all of this thanks to the wonder of psychological science.
That guy's brilliant. All right, so that's the point that Jesus and his audience understood when he associated anger with Gehenna. So let's go back to our list. He has a list of decreasing in severity actions, murder, anger, insult, but increasing consequences. Going to your local court, going to the Supreme Court, or going to, now as we know, the fire of the valley of Gehenna. So if we're going to understand the wisdom behind what Jesus is getting at, the wisdom behind this commandment, don't murder, what do we see all of these have in common when we look at murder, anger, and insulting people, calling them dummies or fools? What do they all have in common? The answer is contempt. Contempt is to look down on another human being as if they have less worth or value. Contempt is to sit in the seat of the evaluator and to judge another human being as lacking value or worth or importance. It is to say to someone who is made in the image of God, you are less than human. It is a dehumanizing emotion. It is a dehumanizing attitude and posture of the heart. To murder someone is a public declaration, this person's life does not matter. But to insult a person is the same declaration. You have less value than I do. You have less worth than I do. And the point Jesus is getting at in all of this is that contempt is a killer. That's the issue. Murder is a killer. Anger is a killer. Contempt is a killer. Because to take another human being who is made in God's image and devalue them is to be at odds with both their creator and with God's creation. And as everyone's ready to receive their gold star, I have not murdered, I have not ended another human life, Jesus said, but did you miss the whole purpose of the commandment to begin with? To look with value, to look with honor, to look with respect on someone that God has made and value them accordingly. You have heard that it was said, do not murder, but I tell you, anyone who has anger, anyone who carries contempt in their heart for someone made in God's image is in danger of the fire of Gehenna. The fire that is lit inside of you will consume you. It will destroy you. And it will absolutely prevent you from the good life because it is not the way of the kingdom of heaven.